Okay, so I wanted to record an intro to the newest episode. This is a talk I recorded at the Floyd Yoga Jam in Floyd, Virginia. It was a yoga and music festival we went to a couple weeks ago. And this is a talk about Kambo. So this is a Kambo practitioner. She, I guess, traveled down to Brazil and trained with some people that culturally, like a tribe down there that used Kambo. I should have had the balls to actually talk to her and get a recording of an interview, but I really wasn't feeling too enterprising or social when I was up there, so it was the best I could do was to just record the talk. And so I have that here for you, and I'm gonna record my sort of response to all of that. I got some stuff I wanted to sort of talk about. Maybe I'll just bring it up next time I interview somebody or whatever, but hopefully I actually get off my ass and do that within the next couple weeks. But yeah, so here is the talk with Alanna Collins. She is a Kambo practitioner, and she works out of the Virginia area. I think she has an office in D.C. I don't know how far she travels, if anyone was interested in actually looking her up. I think she said it was like 150 a person. I don't think it said. She talked about her prices on the actual talk, but it was like 150 a person. She does group settings for like a little bit of a discount to do a few people together. But anyone who's interested in Kambo, the South American frog medicine, here's some info from it it's Alanna, and I don't even know the other girl's name. She might have introduced herself on there, but you'll hear another voice, and some of the crowd actually, it picked up the sound of the crowd, so you can hear some of that too. So I was thankful it turned out as good as it was, because I ended up having to amplify it a good bit. I should have sat it closer, and I should have done a million things differently than I did, but oh well. But that's that. Enjoy.
So, just a quick show of hands. Who has heard of the Kambo? Okay, so about half people have heard of it. Who here has received the medicine? So just you two have already. Wonderful. So the Kambo, it comes from a frog in the Amazon, and like I was saying, it's pretty much only in the area of western Brazil, Peru, Bolivia, and it's a tree frog. And they live in the trees, and they're quite large. They're very special because they have no predators. So the medicine comes from the secretion, from the skin of these frogs. And sometimes the language is confusing because they call it frog venom or frog vaccine. And the reaction that it produces in the body is a very intense physical reaction. So people could think of it as something that's not good for the body, but actually it has this huge healing effect. And so it has no predators because this secretion of the skin, no animals want to eat it. So the energy of the frog is very special because it doesn't really have any fear, right? So imagine an animal that has no worry of being attacked or eaten by anyone else, and they sing, they reproduce, and that's their lives. They are, one of my teachers has said they're known for their humility and their meekness, their smallness, and that's the reason that they carry this powerful energy, this powerful medicine. So, as you can see up here, there's some benefits for body, mind, spirit. Let's just take some examples. If you or anyone else has anything going on in your body, if anyone feels called to share, the space will be open and I can talk about the benefits specifically related to either you or a family member has anything going on in the body, mind, spirit. Anyone feel to share? Limes. Yes. So particularly one of the biggest benefits is this boost to the immune system. So particularly with Lyme's or other autoimmune disorders, it helps to rebalance and reset the body, and can be very helpful with Lyme's. I know my dear sister over here has firsthand experience with that.
Yeah, I can truly attest to that, having chronic Lyme kind of over and again since 16, multiple times. Thankfully to diet I had some shifts, but it wasn't until Kambo that I really was able to really rebalance. I had a lot of also autoimmune things before the Lyme came in, such as a lot of allergies just to the world, to food, and the Kambo has helped me so much to feel as though I could actually be in this world a little easier, and through a little bit of an elongated process, but from the first time I could notice the difference. But it was a dedication that really helped to turn that around. So I can truly attest to that. Yeah.
Anyone else?
What's the process of frog to take? What do they do to extract it?
Yeah. So yeah, we're getting
we're getting all that.
We're getting
Okay, gotcha.
we're getting all that.
Q&A.
But no, we'll go into it.
Right on.
There doesn't have to be a specific order, but so the process is we go into the forest and collect the medicine, and it varies. But if you're working with someone who is respecting the environment and respectful to the animals, then you go out, and it's very simple. You find the frogs. It's at nighttime, so they're a nighttime nocturnal. That's when they're nocturnal animals. That's when they're active, and that's when they sing. Their song is kind of like rock, rock. That's their exact, almost more or less their sound. So when you hear that, that's when you know that they're awake and they're singing, and you go out into the forest at night, and they're in the trees. You pick them up, ask permission, and pray and make a connection that you're asking for their medicine. And then usually with one other person, you just hold the arms and the legs. Sometimes, if you've seen on YouTube, sometimes people have them tied. That's not necessary, and the frogs can be a little bit agitated, but every lineage is different. Some indigenous people, that's the way that they've learned. But yeah, the way I've done it is manually, so just holding them, and then use a piece of wood, and then you just take the secretion and put it on another piece of wood, which I have right here. This is what a Kambo stick looks like, and then the medicine is applied, there's secretion, and it comes off pretty easily. You have to wait 3 months for a frog to regenerate the serum. So if you see a frog and you can tell that they're a little bit dry, then they're not available to collect the medicine. But if they're really gooey and sticky, then you collect, and it dries on that stick, and then that is good for a pretty long time, and then those sticks are brought here to the States. So it's quite a process. I go to Brazil at least once a year to do this work, to collect the medicine, and I was just there about a week ago. Yeah, so that's the process.
Beleza.
That's the collection process. We'll get in later to the actual process of what the medicine feels like.
So when you're holding the frog with your hands, it doesn't go through your skin?
No. Yeah, exactly. You can sometimes in that moment you can feel the energy, like you might feel it a little bit, but in the process of applying the medicine, you apply burns to the skin, and then the medicine goes directly into the bloodstream. But it's true, when you're handling them and you're in that, you can feel the energy, not in the full process the way that you would with the burns, but you feel it because you're there and the medicine is there. So the traditional name is the Phyllomedusa, or giant green monkey tree frog. That's its official name. And so there is some research that I've found in the medical. Is anyone here a medical profession? Okay, what's your profession?
I'm a physician.
Okay, so you might be familiar with these terms. So delmorphin is a potent analgesic, and deltorphin is they're both in the peptides group, but more of a vasodilator, helps with ischemia. So these peptides, and this is kind of more scientific talk, but they have been responsible for a lot of the healing benefits, helping to reset the opioid receptors, helping to reset the whole body, helping with pain control, helping with more circulation. So you can see it helps a lot with inflammation. But in general, this medicine has such a wide range of benefits. It's quite shocking, and it's also mysterious. There has not been a whole lot of research. There's been some, like I said, these few studies, but a lot of people kind of have their hands in the air. They're like, we don't know how this medicine exactly works, but we know that it has huge benefits for all of these systems. And the indigenous people have been working with the Kambo for thousands of years. The most common legend is from the Katukina, and they are one of the tribes in Brazil. One of the first to bring this medicine into the West was through their lineage. They're a huge tribe, the Huniquin. And according to their legend, there was a medicine man, a page, as they call them, a shaman, from that tribe, and the whole village was becoming very ill, very sick with some kind of Western disease, and they didn't have a medicine to heal his people. So he went into the forest. He was drinking ayahuasca, another indigenous medicine. Show of hands, who here has heard of ayahuasca? Anyone here drank it before? Okay, so it's another Amazonian medicine, completely different medicine. I'll talk briefly about it a little bit later. But he drank ayahuasca and prayed for a vision. He prayed to figure out how to help these people, and he received all of the information from a goddess, and she told him what kind of frog and how to apply the process, and he went back and he healed his people. So it's a very powerful medicine in many ways, and from our Western culture, we have different illnesses and different reasons for taking this medicine than the indigenous people. So from the tribes that I've worked with in Brazil, their main reasons are much more basic. So the men will take kambo when they're looking to hunt and they have not been able to find food. So it has this ability of attracting things into our lives, things that we're looking for, things that we're seeking. So they take it, and usually they have success hunting. And women will often take the frog when they're trying to conceive, so if they're having difficulty. And they'll also take kambo for those reasons. I took the frog with an 11-year-old, a 9-year-old in Brazil. That I have never seen that here, only in the tribes. But sometimes children will also take the medicine for different reasons. For if they're having trouble in school, or they're having difficulty doing what they're supposed to be doing. It clears heavy energy. It clears energy of procrastination and negative energy, blockages, things that are just making us feel heavy. They call it penema. So here in the West, so there are some women who take this for conception, but we're working with a huge range of illnesses and diseases that most of the indigenous people don't really have. They don't have like the digestion issues, insomnia. They're not taking pharmaceuticals. We just have a lot. Our lives are very complex, and our bodies and systems and the illnesses and diseases that affect us reflect that complexity. And so the Kambo is a reset for the whole body, and I like to think of it as you're getting this shot of energy from the Amazon, like all of the prana, all of the beauty and healing and medicines that is the forest. The Amazon is pulsing, it's thriving with all of this healing energy. So through taking that medicine, we can receive that and it has this huge range of benefits. Does anyone else have anything else that they wanted to ask about specifically in the body?
Have you had any experience with it, addiction?
Yes. So the Kambo, particularly in in a more scientific way, like the peptides and the resetting of the opioid receptors is a huge piece. But I think on a deeper and more spiritual level, it has huge benefits as well. So, it can help to unblock and make more clear, okay, what is the root issue of addiction? Like, what's really going on below the surface? Why are we using? And addiction has many names and faces. Heroin and alcohol are, more what people think of, but food and internet and email and Facebook, these are all addictions, and it's the same thing. Serotonin, like that boost we get when someone likes our page, or when you have a shot of heroin, or when you eat a piece of sugar. It's all the same thing. And so the Kambo helps on the physical level to reset the body, but also to look deeper and see what's really going on. What are we hiding from? What are we not facing? And using these things as compensation. Anyone else have any specific things? Case studies?
Application, how you talked about the sticks coming to the U.S., then how is it administered?
Yeah. So the way that the process works is you can't really probably see the burns so much, but we got some scars. You can kind of maybe see on the leg too. But so I use this vine, which is a specific kind of vine, and it typically grows with ayahuasca, this vine, and it's burned, and then this is used to make little burns on the surface of the skin. So typically on the arm or the leg, and the medicine is then applied directly to the burn. And so with that, I'll talk a little bit about the actual process. So we have some people who have already received the medicine. Maybe if you could give one word to describe the process.
The burns are real, you don't have to burn real deep. It's just like real quick pop.
Yeah.
Scrape the blister off.
Yeah.
And put the medicine on it. And the burn is like, I've had friends that are thinking about trying it and just won't even do it because they're afraid of the burns. I'm like, they're not ready at that point, so I'm not pushing it, but that was a big resistance for her as well.
Yeah, I had to have him burn me. But no, it's intense, it's warm. For me it was warm. I mean, I know everybody's different.
There's a comfort, like when it kicks in, you feel like you're doing the right thing. Like it's not like, oh my god, what the hell am I doing? Putting frog venom in my skin. Like there is a deep connection. There's something going on for sure.
So what part are you from Virginia?
No, we're from Pennsylvania.
Okay, what part of Pennsylvania?
Near Pittsburgh.
So you found a practitioner out in that area?
No, I ordered a stick online and I couldn't find
You
it.
administered it yourself?
Yeah, the closest practitioners are like, well, I think you were out in DC.
Yeah,
Or
in
DC, or so like 3-4 hours away. I couldn't afford to wait.
Gotcha.
So
Yeah, well, thank you for sharing that. I think that's an important piece. So I'll share kind of a little bit about the full process. So the right before you receive the medicine, you're supposed to drink a lot of water. So 1 to 2 liters, and that helps with the purging process. And not everyone purges physically vomiting, but a lot of people do, and it has that effect. It can go either way. You can have diarrhea, you can have vomiting, and so the water helps with the cleansing, the healing. So the body, when it receives the medicine, all of the toxins and all the things that we're trying to let go of, they collect in areas of the body, in the belly, in the bowel, and then they're excreted. But you might not feel anything. It varies, and the doses, and depending on the strength of the medicine, depending on the frog, depending on the practitioner, there are many, many variables that, some people might take 3 points the first time, some people might take 5, some people might take 7, and it's never going to be the same, especially with different people if you're taking it from a different practitioner. Because the frogs also have different potencies. So if you have what's called a virgin frog, which means that that frog has never been collected from, no one else has collected medicine from that frog, which these days in the rainforest is getting more rare because this medicine is getting more recognition and more people are collecting. But if you do have a virgin frog, that medicine is going to be strong. It's going to be very intense than, say, from another frog that maybe it's closer to the time when they just are now recovering their secretion. So that's why some people might say, oh, I took 11 points my first time, and they come to me, I'm like, you can't have 11 points with the first time with one person. So every time that you are restarting this process with a new practitioner or another cycle, it's like the first time, because your body's different, and there are many variants. So a lot of times people will feel heat in the beginning. That's common. A lot of blood flow, a lot of circulation. You'll feel the heartbeat. You'll feel like this warm sensation. It can be very comforting. It can feel good, and especially in the first moments. Later in the process, once the medicine starts to do its work, I'll be honest, it's typically physically uncomfortable, and it can be challenging because you feel nauseous. You feel it just feels difficult. If you might be in a space where you're like, okay, when am I gonna stop feeling like this? And that's the truth. I'm honest with everyone who goes into this process, because it's a process. So similar to other medicines, like ayahuasca, the main difference is ayahuasca is hallucinogenic. This is not, and Kambo is also completely legal and safe because it's not an entheogen. But the thing it has in common is that physical discomfort, and that's part of the healing journey, right? So I appreciate what you said about, okay, if someone is afraid of if you're afraid of the burns, then I'm going to say that this is not your medicine in this moment, because the process it's intense. So if you're fearing that initial contact, if you've gone through the process, you're like, oh yeah, the burn's like nothing, right? Compared to how intense it can get. So that brings attention to really what are we willing to do to go through this healing journey. And in Western culture and Western medicine, now I'm a registered psychiatric nurse by background, but the Western culture is, okay, what's wrong? Okay, let's take a pill. Like, you have a headache, take a Tylenol. You have a stomach thing, take this. You have something else going on, take that. But if something's going on in the body, if you're not sleeping, if you have chronic headaches, if you're not pooping right, the body is speaking. Something else is going on deeper. But it's within the system of medicine that we don't look at those deeper concerns, because typically it involves things that people are hesitant to do, changing lifestyles, maybe changing a relationship, changing a job situation, changing things in our daily lives, changing our diet, changing exercise, right? These are things we have to do. We have to do it ourselves. We can't just take a pill and expect it to fix itself. So this medicine is for people who are wanting to do the work, who are looking to do the healing work. And I would say that it's, yes?
Go ahead, you can finish. I just have a question.
Yeah, no, so the end of that thought is just that not everyone wants to do the work. Not everyone is willing to do the work. So that's kind of the question to ask if you're looking for this medicine or other medicines as well, including ayahuasca. It's really about doing the integration and changing our lives, changing these day-to-day things. But yes, please, your question.
I was wondering if there are any contraindications or any cautions for either individuals who have certain conditions that it would be contraindicated.
Yeah, so there is a list. Oh man, you guys are getting all the questions before I even go through everything.
That's good.
No,
That's what we want.
That's great. We'll just I saved a portion for Q&A at the end. We're like, okay, the Q&A will just be all in the process. So the main contraindication, and there's very few, but the main one is if you have serious heart condition. So if you had cardiac surgery, like open heart surgery, or any kind of other, mainly heart surgery, because even if you have high blood pressure or low blood pressure, if you take blood pressure meds, that's not a contraindication. In fact, the opposite. The Kambo can help to regulate the blood pressure. If you've had an aneurysm or blood clot, or if you have extremely high blood pressure, like in the 200s, over 100s, that would also be contraindicated because of the tax that it puts on the circulatory system. And someone who's undergoing chemo or is taking immune suppressants for organ transplant, that's the other contraindication because of the effect on the immune system. Now, in generally healthy people, it has this boosting of the immune system, but it also taxes the immune system temporarily during the process. So someone who's maybe had an organ transplant but is not taking suppressants and it was a long time ago, then it would be helpful for that person. But in its more acute time, like if you're in the middle of chemotherapy or just post-op, then that will be contraindicated. Also, if you have severe epilepsy, that's another contraindication. Or if you are pregnant, you should not be taking the Kambo. And I've heard different things about women that are breastfeeding. My very good friend in Brazil, she had a newborn baby, and the baby had some issues in the liver, and she took the Kambo specifically to help her baby, to take it, and it would be in the breast milk in her body and help to bring him healing for what was going on in his liver. And it was successful. He recovered, the baby is fine. But I've also heard contraindications for breastfeeding women through the IKP, which is the International Kambo Practitioner. It's a whole organization of people that they've set certain rules. But I've also worked with, that woman she's within a Brazilian community and people that are indigenous that are working with this medicine a lot, and they have a lot of experience that's outside of the IKP is more westernized, it's a little more cautious. Does that answer your question?
To clarify a little bit, you mentioned the heart to start with. It's not like a major, but let's say back to the lungs, there's heart palpitations that sometimes happens because of the lungs.
Yeah, that's not a contraindication. Yeah, no, I've worked with people that have had palpitations or different kinds of, as long as you've been to a cardiologist and you've cleared that everything is fine, that they're not going to do anything for it. I've also given the frog to someone who's had a stent, like afterwards, a couple months after they went through, and it's fine. It's more like major, open heart surgery. That's contraindicated, but it's helpful to the circulatory system in general.
And with the Lyme, specific to the heart stuff, A lot of that is there's subtle like myocarditis, right? So that resetting really does help to de-inflate, or to bring down inflammation from chronic Lyme. The other awesome thing about things like Lyme, things like syphilis, and they're finding with Alzheimer's and so forth, that bacterias that are spirochete pass the blood-brain barrier. The Kambo has the ability to pass the blood-brain barrier. That's why it's so effective with these diseases that we cannot really get to with other medicines. It has that ability, and it's profound. So yeah, especially with things that are inflammation related and chronic inflammation related over time, really can help to set that into a good source. So.
Yes.
Can you discuss more about the process? So how long is this process?
Yeah.
Average.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's relatively short. So from the time that the medicine gets onto your skin, the onset is almost immediate. You can typically feel the energy. You can feel some heat, like before the practitioner's even finished putting the points on. You feel it, and then the intense part, I would say, is somewhere between 15 minutes to 30 minutes. And then typically you have some kind of movement within that 30 minutes. So you either purge a few times or you have diarrhea, and it feels great. Once you actually have that clearing, it's like, oh, okay, you're kind of over the hump. But up until that point, that's probably the most intense part, is because the body is collecting all of those toxins, and you're feeling that. But after, so it depends. Some people have a really quick clearing. The purge comes within 5 or 10 minutes. Other times, if medicine has a little more to work through, you might be sitting with it for like 30 minutes, but typically not more than 30 to 45 minutes.
So I'm thinking in my head like days. So
No.
This is like within
Oh yeah, it's within, like, people, usually a full session, like when I do individual sessions, it's 3 hours, and really only 1 hour is the actual frog process, from when you take the medicine, you go through the process, you have a clearing, and then you rest, and most people sleep afterwards for 20 minutes or 30 minutes, and afterwards a lot of people feel energized. They feel more positive, just more vibrant, more prana, more energetic. Those are the immediate effects, and they can last for days and weeks afterwards. So I'll speak kind of briefly about the benefits of people that, let's say you're completely healthy. So let's say that you have no physical issues, and you're like doing yoga, meditation, coming to these great festivals, and you're like doing good. The Kambo is still beneficial, and because it works on all the planes, that would be what you're tapping into in that moment. If you don't have a specific physical ailment, is more the energetic and spiritual. So, like I said before, it has this capacity to manifest, to call in things that we want, to call in things that we're looking for. So prosperity and abundance, and things that we're looking, new job opportunities, new relationships. That's kind of a thing in Brazil. Like, they'll say, oh, this person's looking for a man, this person's looking for a woman. They take the frog, and that's a little more superstitious. But really, at a deeper level, it's clearing out these blockages. Okay, what is preventing us from manifesting, from calling in these things that we're looking for? What are the energetic things in our bodies and our minds, these beliefs and ideas that are stopping us from having a partner, or from having a job that we enjoy, or anything else in our lives? And also, the clearing. So I put here, this is a quote that I saw. So, cleansing is the catalyst for change that washes away the blocks of abundance, that opens the door to prosperity. This is the magic of the frog. And I think that kind of sums up that aspect. And everyone has a different process. So your process and your partner's process, everyone is going to have a different experience. and the frog goes a little bit deeper each time. So the recommendation for a full cycle would be receiving 3 times in one lunar cycle. So within 28 days, within 1 month. And the reason for that is because every time you have this clearing, the medicine can just go a little bit further in. And I've seen that firsthand with my own experience, but also with other people. So some people might say, oh, I didn't have, I didn't purge, or I didn't have any diarrhea, or I didn't vomit, and so I feel like I didn't benefit. But that's actually not true. You still are receiving huge benefit. But then the next time, that same person might have some kind of movement because the medicine has now cut through. So typically, if nothing happens the first time, then there's just, the medicine is going in and it's clearing away, but just not, it doesn't need to be physical. You have a physical reaction. But the second time, usually someone will have some kind of physical reaction, some kind of purge. And the third time, most likely, and it goes deeper. So I've seen with people, they'll sometimes feel just exhausted, like just sluggish, and after the process, right? So I was saying, a lot of people feel energized, but some people they'll feel like they need 1-2 days to recoup, and they just want to sleep. But then that same person, they come back, and then the next time they take the frog, they're like, I'm ready for 5 rhythms, I'm ready to go dance, I'm ready to take on the world. And so that speaks to the reason as to why you take it 3 times, especially if you have something specifically you're working on, because it does increase the potency, and it is the way to receive the maximum benefit for that work. And so 3 times in one lunar cycle, and then 1 to 2 times a year. I think definitely once a year, doing a full cycle, possibly twice a year, around the solstices is a good time, that time of transition and change. Also taking it within or on the new moon or the full moon. Typically this medicine is collected around the new moon. It's that nighttime medicine, darkness, and that's also, the new moon is very potent for healing work, for setting intentions. Do you have another question?
Yeah, I was wondering if there is any diet that is combined with this medicine, if for some other medicine.
Yes, and it's similar. The dieta for Kambo, I would say it applies to ayahuasca as well. So what I recommend is for at least 3 days before and 3 days after, no substances, so no alcohol, no weed, no sex, no other drugs, and also diet. So being as close to vegan, vegetarian as possible, avoiding red meat before and after, avoiding dairy if you can, and just eating fresh fruits, vegetables, things that are clean, things that are organic if possible, lots of grains, juices, smoothies, stuff like that is good before and after. And then afterwards, you want to take care that you're filling up that space that you created with things that are healthy. So not just in the physical body, but conversations, energies, other people, media, being mindful not to be surrounding yourself with negative conversations or negative people, news, all those things. Keeping your energy more contained will help to preserve the medicine and help its effects. Also taking plenty of rest afterwards, and intention setting beforehand, giving yourself more self-care, and ultimately I think with time we create our lives with this dieta. So we're always prioritizing self-care, we're always eating healthy, right? So it doesn't need to be just before and after these medicines, but we slowly increase that amount of time.
The medicine that's on the stick, shelf life, application, weight, how you ratio what you administer, and how fresh, what do you look for when you're, buying online is always a with any type of,
Yeah.
you recommend with a professional, I assume.
Yeah, I absolutely recommend working with someone who's trained. So yeah, there's Kambo for sale online. You can get it for maybe like $50 a stick. You can get it for, but I would highly advise against that for many reasons. So I personally, go to Brazil. I go either myself into the jungle with someone else and get the frogs, or I will, there's a community of people that I work with that I know and trust, and I know the people that are going into the forest. I know the leaders of the community, so I know that they are in alignment. And the issue with, if you order online or if you're working with someone who's not trained, unfortunately, with anything in life, things become a commodity. So there are people in the Amazon in Brazil who just go and collect this medicine and they sell it. That's it. They don't necessarily take the medicine themselves. They don't work with it. They don't give it to other people. It's just business. They go into the forest and they get the frogs and they sell it. They ship it. And we don't know exactly how they're treated. Sometimes they might take the frogs away from their environment, that they might not return them exactly to where they were living, or they might. So we don't know.
Now the frogs have predators.
Huh?
Now they have their predators.
Don't they? I mean, you said they had no predators, but it seems like they're in jeopardy at this point.
So the main predator, I guess, would be deforestation. So the destruction of the Amazon rainforest. Yes, and also people that are not respecting like the cycles of reproduction, because they're also like they reproduce between between November and May during their wetter season. So November to January is better to not collect during that time because most of the frogs are mating. So you don't want to their frogs are always together, so you don't want to pull the frogs apart to collect the medicine. And so yeah, that's the reason you want to work with someone who's trained, and you also want to know that person who says that they are trained also knows where the medicine is coming from, because this is energetic work. It's in the physical plane, but it's spiritual. And if someone everything gets transferred, right? So someone takes the frog from the forest and doesn't have so much integrity, or they didn't ask permission, or they didn't have that relationship with the frog, and they're just selling it, then that comes into the medicine itself. Right? So we don't want to be taking in that suffering of the frogs. And yeah, unfortunately, that's kind of the way it is these days. We can't really be sure, so that's why it's important to really know who you're working with.
Does it matter male, female frog, or they both have the same?
Yeah, they both have the same healing properties. Yeah, so either one. The males are typically skinnier.
What about little baby frogs?
I haven't seen anyone collect from
little frogs. No?
I don't think so. I think I'm pretty sure there are certain sizes, because the ones that I've collected,
this big?
They vary, this big or this big. Yeah, they're pretty big. The females are usually more plump and rounder, and the males have more of a bony, skinnier frame. And so I want to talk briefly. Is anyone here into animal spirit totems? Anyone here know about them? Heard of them? So I just found it was quite interesting. These animal totems, they come from Native America. They come from our country here. They come from various traditions. But when it comes to the frog, the spirit of the frog is the water element. So it's representational of clearing, of transformation, of cleansing, of purification. I think those are the main words I would use to describe this medicine. And so I just found it was so interesting, the parallel across traditions. These frogs don't live here, but the frogs there carry that medicine that people here in this country, in these native traditions, have known that the spirit of the frog is that. And so in ancient Egypt, in Roman mythology, there's also a goddess who has a frog, and she's known for cleansing, for transformation, and also the transformation of the frog. So it's reptilian, but it spends most of its life as a tadpole living in the water, and then it transitions and it has Yeah. So
Wow.
all that yeah, and that's another one too, right?
Right?
And so all of these properties of transformation and also like living between worlds. So reptilians are they live in the water, they grow up in the water, and then they transition, they can live on land. So kind of like us and people working with these medicines, we're traversing different planes of consciousness, and we're moving on the astral plane as well. And people that are working in this way, we're a little more versatile.
What's it do to the R complex? I mean, is it?
Huh?
What's it do to the old R complex in the brain? There's your reptilian.
Well, that's a good question.
Yeah.
I think I don't know specifically, but I think that it definitely benefits at some level. So let's see. I pretty much. We have another question. Yes.
So, you mentioned that you do individual sessions, you also do group sessions, and is the session more like a clinical type feeling, or is it a ceremonial type?
Yeah. So I do all the above. I do individuals, small groups, larger groups. I think the most I've done is like 10 people at a time. And it's definitely more ceremonial. So in like what we kind of shared in the beginning, like live music, also some recorded music, but there's prayers and it has a ceremonial feeling, much more. But as a registered nurse, as my background, I also will, give a little bit of counsel, or there's integration. So I always want to know, okay, what is your intention and what's your life like, what's going on for you in this moment, and then we integrate after about the experience and some tools to take away and move forward. So I do incorporate a little bit of that, but I'd say it's mostly ceremonial.
Like a daytime ceremony?
Yeah. Typically I offer them weekdays 10 to 1, but it's also flexible. If people have work or things, I'm also able to make it accommodate to what people are looking for. Some people work full time, so sometimes I'll come and when people get out of work and do something in the evening. But it is usually about 3 hours, and that's for individuals or up to 3 people. After that, it'll be a little bit longer.
The other aspect of time is that this is a fasting medicine. So there is a recommendation of fasting for 12 hours, which then makes it easier to take this medicine
in the morning.
Towards the morning.
Exactly.
You do not want to have anything in your system other than really good liquids, and so that's why the suggestion would be towards the morning to do a work like this. But people do it after work and later in the day. It's just going to be a little harder in the daytime to fast sometimes. So
yeah, thank you for I think the woman left. Yes.
Where are you located?
So I'm in Fairfax, Virginia. Yeah, but I'm also open to going to other places, especially if there's a group of people in like a certain area. I'm open. I'm here. We took a nice little road trip, about 4 hours, which was great. So I'm pretty flexible and open.
You get the stick. How long does it last? The medicine last, and how do you distinguish how much
How do you know if the stick is spent?
Yeah.
Or is it ever spent?
Yeah. So if you look like more closely on the stick, then the medicine, you just go through it so that you'll see just the white. You'll see the wood, just the wood.
Oh, so
the
it's
medicine.
a color.
Yeah, you can see it on top. But as far as like the duration, I mean, the medicine is good for a very long time. I think at least 7 years. My teacher has said that it doesn't go bad quickly. So
one stick could do how many applications? Would you say hundreds?
It varies. It varies, yeah, depending on the size of the stick. So you can see like this one stick, and this is another one. Like this one's a little bit bigger, this one's a little smaller. And it also depends how many people you're giving the frog to, how often you're doing treatments, how much medicine people are taking. So if everyone that you're giving the frog to is taking like 7 to 11 points, you're going to be going through it quicker than if people are taking 3 to 4 points. Yeah, exactly.
The diameter of that.
Yeah, the diameter of this, and
So you just gently put it on top of it.
Yeah.
Sit for a couple seconds. Or
Yeah, just yep, really
burn
quick.
and then apply. Burn and apply.
Well,
Yeah.
it's gonna pop the blister, right?
Well,
It's gotta be like.
so what-
Blister.
The end of that, the end of the vine ends up being a little ember. And you're
Yeah.
really only just lightly scraping the very top layer of skin. So it's just,
Boom.
and maybe you clear away that little layer of skin. So it doesn't always
Yeah.
blister, but it could, maybe your skin blisters. The process is pretty fast, so there's really, usually not so much blistering in that first part.
Well, I think the
don't
language
that-
could be confusing because
Yeah.
it might look. I mean, the intention is to get like a piece of fresh skin, so
Just
maybe a little blister, but usually like I'll move the dead skin so that you're right on that layer. And then I think you also asked like, how do you know? And it's really intuition, and also I know the medicine that I'm working with, so I know that its potency at this point, and so it's kind of based on body type and also your diet and history and what's going on. But it's intuitive. But most people I've been giving between 3 and 5 points for their first time. Most people, and generally 5 is the like normal number for people receiving their first time. I have not been giving 5 points to most people because the medicine that I have been using is quite strong. So that's why I've been saying 3 to 5. But it changes.
That's why it's so important to know your medicine. And the other aspect of ordering online is that there are these people not in integrity that are really just farming the frogs, which we're really working to support these tribes who are doing the right work. And that's why it's super crucial, because just like our animals that we're eating, that people end up eating, they're farming chickens, they're farming this. With commercialism comes that, so it's really important to don't go for the medicine that's $50, $100 a stick, because you're not probably going to be supporting something that is in divine integrity. If you're really into, the dedication of what you're supporting and your healing, you'll want that to come around. You'll want that to really be a full circuit. So just really can't say that enough about knowing your medicine and where you're supporting.
Thank you.
This woman and where she supports and the beautiful tribe she supports. It's beautiful. I can't say enough.
Thank you, Kim. So the last thing I wanted to just touch briefly on is a couple of the other medicines. I think, can you check and see if someone's coming here at 12 or maybe a little later?
Does anybody have a schedule? I didn't bring mine.
So along with the Kambo, I always offer Hape and Sananga. Who here has ever heard of Hape and Sananga? Received it? No? Oh, no one's coming here at 12? No. Okay. So the Sananga is an eye drop medicine, and I don't have any with me in this moment, but it's used for the eyes, and it opens up vision, it opens up the third eye, and it also helps with your actual vision. So if you have glasses or anything going on with the eyes, and it's used for meditation, it's used for grounding, it's used for clearing, and just landing in the space. And the other medicine that I have with me today is Hape. And Hape is a tobacco medicine. It's a tobacco snuff. So it's a mixture of tobacco and ash. So the ash is of the sunu tree. It's a specific bark of a tree that grows in Brazil. And this one also has another herb in it, which is used for headaches. Very small amount of the herb. But this is also the tobacco snuff, particularly that way of receiving tobacco and praying with it, is the most ancient way. So smoking tobacco came much later. And so I offer this before the frog, and again using for meditation, and it helps people to feel connected to the earth and to affirm yourself with intention. And so it's applied through, this is a pipe, and it's applied to the nose. And because we're a small group, I'm going to open the space for anyone who feels called to receive Hape. I'm going to open it up, and you can come up here to the altar, and Kim will have some music and sing a little bit. Does anyone feel called to receive some hape, just to get a show of hands?
What?
Could you go through again?
Say again a little bit about it.
Yeah. So
What is it helping? Assisting?
So it's tobacco medicine, and it's used for meditation. It's used for grounding, and it's a beautiful medicine, especially for being in nature and just feeling more connected to the earth. And I also use it in preparation for the kambo, but it can also be used perfectly independently on its own for meditation, and it's used in conjunction often with ayahuasca. So either before the process or after the process or during, it helps to move the energy. If you're feeling nauseous, if you're feeling kind of stuck,
Other benefits.
Huh? So it's a different medicine. So mapacho is a specific type of tobacco, and it's mostly used in Peru, and that's like a smoking, and they use it with prayer, and they're like usually blessing or doing healings with it. So this is a potent healing medicine. It's used in a different way because it is a snuff, but it's also something that I have been learning about is the power of hape with addiction, and particularly reestablishing a positive relationship and a respectful relationship with tobacco. So for people who maybe are smokers or who have been smokers in the past and are wanting to just to end that habit, hape can be another medicine, and I have some self-applicators as well. People can give it to themselves and pray and meditate, and it's really just about creating ritual. So we're creating ritual around tobacco and respect for the grandfather, the male protector energy in tobacco. It's grounding, it's safe. So I believe that's part of where that healing can come in, as opposed to it's like an oral fixation. It's just another getaway. We're establishing that relation with respect.
Another aspect of the more I found, and it took me a while to receive the medicine of the hape. And when I did, I in my life have had chronic sinusitis, chronic inflammation here, and it is used specifically to help with that. If you tend to have more seasonal allergies, if you tend to have more inflammation and mucous membrane inflammation, and mucous membrane inflammation throughout the entire body, the tobacco, even though, so when it's applied, it really will just, you hold your breath, so you're not inhaling this. You hold your breath and it's applied, and it, right up here, it has the opportunity to sit in these passages. And then what will happen is the mucus will end up starting to secrete, and you'll want to move it through. But I found after a while this really does help to bring down the inflammation overall. So while you may have excited mucus during this process, you will, the after effects are long-term. The after effects are really clearing and bringing down the inflammation. So especially for those with seasonal allergies, the clinical, just absolute direct application to it is really great. And anybody who's experienced tobacco through smoking, a lot of the same benefits can happen, especially digestion. I know a lot of people that they've got to have their coffee or they have to have their cigarette, and it'll help them with digestion. When I receive the hape, I immediately have to go poop. and it can be eliminating in some way. You're not going to poop yourself,
No.
not like that, but it for me, tobacco, I know if I have constipation, receiving some type of tobacco medicine will help the nervous system to go, we can move energy. So it is a medicine that allows you to move energy, but like you were saying, it's the grandfather. It has this ability to saturate you down to the earth. And you'll feel that you might feel a very overwhelming full presence. Really feel your auric field drawing down. So it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous medicine, and it is a meditation experience.
Yeah.
Is there nicotine?
Thank you.
I mean, is that a dumb question? If it's tobacco, is it nicotine? So yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you would test positive for nicotine if you were.
You know, I can't speak. I think you would.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, it's optional. If anyone would like, I'm just opening up this space to share. And I have some feather earrings over there that are for sale. I just got back from Brazil, and those are from some of the tribes and the communities that I visit. And yeah, I also have some hape and applicators for sale as well. And if anyone would like, let's see.
Do you have a card?
I do, yes.
She's a card, and if anybody wants to be on to receive information, write down your email and your name, and she can be in touch. Let you know if she's in the area or if you have any requests in the future. Do you have a pen?
Yes, I do have a pen.
We can do an email. The old traditional way.
You have to have, how does the state of Virginia in terms of your certification licensure deal with this? Do you have to have a special certification? Does it go through the alternative pathway or alternative medicine with the state board?
So, I do not go through, like, I'm a psychiatric registered nurse by background. So I use that licensure, but I don't actually go through the holistic, like, boards or anything like that, because this is not, I don't believe that this is actually, like, recognized through the holistic, like, structure. I'm not positive, but I don't believe that it is, because it's not regulated through the FDA. It's an indigenous medicine, so it's also a little more rare. So I'm gonna put some cards in here.
Basically, it's off their radar.
Yeah.
For now.
For now.
The aspect, it's
For
not,
now.
Yeah, for now, I would say it's because of all of its insane health benefits.
Yeah,
the radar of
please
it
put
is
down your
becoming
name, your
it's
email,
being
take a card.
recognized. But it thankfully, and I'll say thankfully, isn't something that is regulated via FDA, and it is 100% legal.
Yeah, they're all
It's not
aware.
like an illegal substance
Yeah.
that you have to have,
Right.
like some clearance
Oh.
for.
More in terms of like,
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bet you got the pen.
Oh, I can show you.
Epidemiological mind. So it's very controlled.
Yeah, we're not quite there yet.
Not quite gathering the data yet, right?
Yeah.
thank you.
Yes,
Appreciate
thank you
your
so
time.
much. Yeah, thank you for being here.
Does it work?
Yes,
Oh,
please
okay.
send me an email.
Just in
All my
case
contact
that's the
information
second
is there through my website.